All right, we are live and direct.
What's going on? What's going on, everyone? Hello, hello, hello. What's
Hello.
going on? How's everybody living? Y'all good? Y'all good?
Good.
Look
Good.
alive. Everybody
Feeling
got
good. Happy it's Friday.
Right.
exactly. We're here, guys, at the combination of the 6-week series, Return to the Garden. It was developed after I painted 2 pieces. Adam and Eve Return to the Garden. And so we started a 6 weeks run at it with these episodes, just having amazing people like yourselves jump on and have a great conversation on expressionism and inclusive perspectives. The pieces, Adam and Eve brought so many different revelations to myself that I was able to break it down in conversation form and really hit on certain topics like arts and culture, arts and education, and arts and faith. So I'm really excited to have you all here and for you all to be a part of this and to have had such an amazing run with it, with this episode, with this series, excuse me. So, it's just to have some amazing dope friends like yourself come on and just be a part of this this venture for me is a big, big, big deal. Also, because I haven't, at least not in a while, have seen so many amazing artists come together, you know what I mean, and have like a panel like this. I thought it would be cool, you know what I mean, to actually do it.
Absolutely.
So thank you for taking your time. Yes, thank you for taking the time to be a part of this. I know we're all tired. We're all artists. We're all busy, and you all thought it not robbery. Look at that, sound real churchy, right? To be a part of this. So just welcome. How's everybody doing? Let's check in first.
Fantastic. Good.
Blessed and highly favored. No, I'm sorry.
Luke, you good over there? Oh, we can't hear you, Luke.
It's like we heard him for a second.
Yeah.
We hear something.
Right, we hear something. We hear something going on. What you gonna do? It's technology.
He probably messing around with his mic right now.
Yeah, he's probably messing around with the mic. It's all good. It's all good. We'll let you get that situated. Let's see here. We're also waiting for Elle. She should be on shortly. But let's just go around. Let's just go around and just check in and see. Introduce everyone here that's on the panel right now. We have some amazing people that has, just been doing awesome things, not only in the art world, but in the community. So it's great to have you all here. And after we, I guess, just go around and talk about, you know what I'll do, instead of us doing that, let's just go back and slow down a little bit, and I'll just go into why this started. You know what I mean? Why we're here and why we came together. Got people hopping on. Thank you, everybody that's joining. We see you hopping. We see the hearts. Please comment below. Again, my name is Ty Lewis. You're on my Art by Ty Lewis page right now. We're just going over, intro in this whole series and what we're doing. And it developed after creating 2 pieces. I'll pull them up, the art pieces. Or Nate, could you pull those up for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it was 2 paintings that I created called Adam and Eve Return to the Garden. And this is Adam here. And of course we have Eve. And it was just a vision from God. That's all it was. And once I created them and they were complete, all these revelations came, all these different topics. The first striking thing for me was just the fact that Adam and Eve were African American, brown skin, melanin popping, right? So that conversation in itself, just having that, us depicted in that with those 2 major names, in the faith community, and then also just the gender norm. So many different topics came up, socially, culturally, and it also took me to the Word of God as well. This is Adam and Eve, so it took me to Genesis, where God said once He created Adam and Eve and everything, He said everything was good. He said everything was, as He intended. You know what I mean? Everything was peaceful. And if you could imagine being in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, and just having that dominion, having that peace, having that subtlety in your spirit, having access to God like that, what would it mean for us if we could return, And so that's why we're here. You know, I was thinking, like, I'm pretty sure if Adam and Eve, after they were banished, if they had the opportunity to go back to that peace, they would. So it opened a conversation of how can we return to, we would never be able to get to that peace that they had in the Garden of Eden, but how can we return to that state of peace in our minds? How can we return to forgiveness? How can we return to healing? How can we return to having conversations and less judgment, things like that? How can we, especially coming off of a year like 2020, and still have some things down that's lingering, you know, the residue of 2020, you know what I mean, going on. So this is how this series was birthed. It was really pieces that I was obedient, created them, and then the revelations came, and I have these amazing people here now who helped me just break down those questions and conversations and things that that I had for these pieces here. So welcome everyone who's joining. Thank you so much. Please comment and keep your questions coming. We will have a Q&A portion of this here. So let's get into it. So we'll just go around and introduce ourselves. I'm probably going to start with Chrissy. Just let us know who you are.
Ladies first.
Right. Who you are.
I felt it coming in my spirit. And he's like, he's going to say Chrissy first. I knew it was coming.
Right. I'm a gentleman. It has to be ladies
get myself
first.
together, right? Lord forgive me. All right. So, hello, everyone. My name is Christina Noble. I am a good friend of Ty's. We've been friends for I don't even know how long now. I think we actually met through the arts, if I'm correct. Through the arts and faith. It was like a church affiliation thing. But a little bit about me. I am the project manager for a project called Stories of Atlantic City. We are a journalistic organization supported by Stockton University. And we act as three main things. We act as a news hub, so we collaborate with multimedia content producers locally, as well as local news organizations. We also act as an educational resource. So we teach our community with different workshops and trainings. We also work with students in different capacities. And then lastly, we act as a community organizer, which is my primary role. I am the liaison between the people of Atlantic City and the world, really, so to speak. And of course, I didn't even really say what we are. We focus on the untold stories of Atlantic City and its people. And we focus on something called restorative journalism, which really highlights the strengths of a community rather than its downfalls. So that's a little bit about me. And then outside of that, of course, I'm a dancer / choreographer / teacher. I've taught all over the world, and now I'm here with you today.
Awesome. All right, moving right along, Mr. Taylor. Welcome. First of all, I'm so rude. Chrissy, thank you for being a part. I appreciate you so much.
Yes.
You always come through, so we're so lucky to have you with us tonight. Yes. Mr. Taylor, take it away.
Hey, how did I get that little color splash thing up there?
Oh, that's my logo.
Yeah, I like that. It matches with my top. Right. Look at that. Like, wow. My name is Arthur Leo Taylor. I'm a first and foremost, I'm a Black man. That's number one.
Okay.
And that goes, above pretty much everything else. I'm an artist, a teacher, activist, historian, a playwright, actor, dancer, choreographer, educator, and I hold a father, husband. I hold all of these titles in high esteem because it's what our community needs now, what we need. And we need to see all of these as much as possible. The artists are the ones that change people's minds about things. And so it's imperative that we, as artists, step up to the plate and accept our part in making our communities aware on ways to navigate through a lot of this white supremacy that we're seeing and other areas. So, yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you. You are one of my mentors, somebody that I look up to and worked with a great deal. So thank you so much for being a part as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nate, you're up, bro.
Okay. How much time we got? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Nate Evans Jr., mental health advocate, best-selling author, inspirational speaker, brother, goddad, fiance, soon-to-be husband, all of these things. Child of God, of course. And just excited first and foremost just to be here and be a part of this. I've known Ty for quite some time, but we've recently gotten a lot closer over the last few years. So I consider him a brother. I consider him. I'm excited about tonight, man. And I'm excited to really dive into this and just have a good time with some amazing people that's hard to get on the line because y'all are popping out here.
Yeah, so thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Yes. Again, we've been rocking for a minute now, and your support has been consistent and sincere. So I'm grateful for you as well. Luke, you up, brother? Oh, L just hopped on. Great.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
What's up, Al?
Man, my name is Luke Witherspoon. I'm a musician. Thank y'all for having me.
That's a real humble. That's a humble opening right there.
I really thank y'all for having me. Like, I'm just honored to be around you guys.
Awesome, man. Now, look. We're honored to have you, man. Like I said, y'all some heavy hitters in the game. Everybody on this live right now, so I'm just honored to have you here and being a part. So thank you, brother. L is in the room. What's going on? You came in at the time.
Y'all know I need internet services for Hooked on Phonics or something. This,
right.
When the stages open back up, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So let the people know. Let the people know who you are, what's going on. We're writing an introduction, so let's let them know what you do, what you represent, and who you are.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I'm El Vintage. I am a poet, activist, youth liaison, and advocate, hailing from Southern Jersey area, Atlantic City and Pleasantville, to be politically correct. I am a poet, journalist, and I am me. You know, I love doing what I do, and that's what I'm gonna say.
Awesome.
Let's get into this.
I've had the opportunity to work with you all or witness your amazing work. And like I said, this conversation has just been great. And I wanted to keep it going. I think we had a lot of people who were asking a lot of questions after the live that I've had individually with you all. Luke, I know you are just now joining us for the first time. But again, I think let's just get into it. I think we should get into it right now and just let it flow. Anyone can answer the questions. Some will be directed to others, but everyone's free to answer the questions. The moderator for this evening will be Nate Evans Jr.
Hey.
We may need to mute ourselves unless we're speaking, though. I think we're having a little feedback.
All right, we're good to go.
Right. Yep. So it's on you, brother. You got us today, Nate.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into it. So we do have Arthur on right now. I know you said something about Erica coming on a little bit later, but there's a little segment we want to jump into titled Reflecting the Times, right? And Arthur, I'll direct this question at you. But anybody else can feel free after he's done to kind of jump in and share your insight as well. So the question is, if at all, how important is it for you to reflect the struggle of our culture in your work or align it with your platform?
One of the things that annoys me most coming from our people is when we present work that is esoteric. And I say that
in my dictionary.
Well, I say that because we have so many stories to tell. And when we don't use the platforms that we have to tell those stories and we squander it away, it is a sin. It is an absolute sin. And I'll just give you a quick example. We have two versions of the Aretha Franklin story, which are coming out. You know, one deals with a segment of her life. I think the other is going to deal with her life as an entirety. But there were so many aspects in different areas of this woman's life that could be delved into. So as a result of that, I'm sorry, my light's down here. Give me 1 second. So as a result of that, it has made us want to tell these stories. Now we had the Lady Sings the Blues, and we had the United States versus Billie Holiday. Two different stories about the same person, told in different manners, and what have you like that. So it is imperative as an artist, especially an African American or Black artist or artist of color, that you tell your people's stories, because there's so many out there that have not been told, and there are lessons to be learned from these stories. You know, in the village, the griot was the person that would sit everybody down and would tell them stories about things that happened in the old. And so, and it's because of the griot that we were able to connect the story that Alex Haley wrote in Roots. Mm-hmm. When he got to the place that he thought was the village that Kunta Kinte was from, he went to consult with the griot. And the griot, who has been trained in storytelling, trained to keep knowledge and oral history, was the one who opened up the pathway to say, yeah, and at this point, we lost this young kid here. His name was Kunta Kinte. And that's when, you know, the floodgates opened up for Alex Haley. So when we talk about being able to really look into our history and our culture and deal with it in a way that makes it tangible for everybody, you know, it's imperative. It is very imperative. And that's why I get extremely annoyed when times are wasted, you know, and art is wasted, so to speak. And I believe me, I understand art for art's sake and all of that. But that kind of takes a backseat to us as African American artists, because we have so many stories to tell, and we're trying to push them out as quickly as we can. So that's my response to that question. It was a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to dive into that one before I move to the next question?
Repeat the question one more time for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. If at all, how important is it for you to reflect the struggle of our culture in your work or align it with your platform? How important is that to you? That your work, the body of work that you do, whether it's poetry, music, dance, like how important is it for you to reflect that in your work?
Well, can y'all hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. For myself, I think it just depends on who's your audience, what your intentions are. You know what I mean? I don't think you're wrong if you're African American and your goal is just like, okay, I just want to create, right? And you have no like intention, right? So it's just like you're free to create, you know, like no judgment zone, right? You're free to create. However, from myself, my tagline is "Reflect the Times," which is direct from the quote from Nina Simone. You know what I mean? It's an artist. You know, I don't want to missay it, but it's somewhere to the fact where it's an artist's responsibility to reflect the times in which we live. And so, for myself, it's a goal for me to reflect our stories. I think also as a multi-medium artist, like, you know, actor, you know, writer and things like that, I've seen the lack of representation in many different areas in the arts. As an actor, I've seen a lack of roles for, you know, non-stereotypical roles. You know what I mean? I've read scripts that were completely just we were watered down or we were overplayed. You know what I mean? So me as a writer, you know, it was just a goal for me to provide as a writer roles for actors that they could be proud of, that could reflect what they have gone through, can reflect our stories and things like that. So it's my intention and my goal to reflect our story and our struggle, and also to educate the audience. Not, you know, it's a goal for me to educate, you know, our white peers about our story from us, and not let someone else teach our stories.
That's good. That's good.
I think that hello, y'all. I'm El Vintage. Listen, Clubhouse got me introducing and closing out, introducing myself. So, you know, it's in the frame. I think that it is very important, especially when it comes to us as Black people, as a culture of Black people that come from, as authors say, griots and storytellers and different tribes and different countries where our skin tone has been a target. and has been, for the lack of better words, considered our own ignorance. You blame us for being black, but God knew what he was doing when he made us, right? So in order to relay in a story or to show people your struggles, you have to have been in that struggle. You have to have experienced that struggle, and it's very important that we definitely exploit or explore and tell that struggle, because no one else can tell it like we can, and no one else can feel it like we felt it when we're in the moment and those things are transpiring and are happening. I heard someone say, how is it a while back, before someone was interviewing me, and they asked me, how important is it to or is it the job of artists and journalists and people of color to tell our stories and our struggles? Absolutely, we have to, because when this generation now becomes who we are at our age, you know what I mean, and over exceed and step into the realms of where their experience has caught up with them in life, they have to be able to not only tell the story from where they are, but they also have to keep passing the story from generation to generation after we're gone. So it's important that we do relay that struggle and tell people what's going on and how we felt and the way we felt. You all know me. You've heard me recite. You know what I do, and I love doing it. But it's the rawness for me, because I need people to know about the feeling of it and what happened when it was transpiring. And so everybody, we need to, because if we don't do it, no one else will. And other cultures want to know, and then there's some cultures that want to X us out. So how do you combat that? By continuously telling your story and relaying what the struggle was on the other side.
Absolutely.
That's
Totally
good.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what everyone is saying. I do think that it's imperative that we share our own stories. And not even just for other cultures. We also need to educate our own, because we have been slighted in the education system. And all we've learned growing up is Martin Luther King. When that time comes, maybe a few other things. And even that isn't correct information, right? So I feel like many of us have been learning the truth through these artistic works that's been coming out, through the movies, through the documentaries, through all that. So I do think that it's imperative that we share our stories. However, and for anybody that knows me, I'm like, what's that video that be going around? I'm black, y'all, because I'm black, y'all, because I'm blackity black. That's me. So I think my blackness is reflected a lot in my work, whether I want it to be or not. I think it just naturally comes out. So you're going to see blackness in my work regardless, because that's just me. But I do also believe, I believe in the obligation, but I also believe in the freedom. I feel like being a black person in this country, and really globally, because there's issues with color and blackness all over the world, right?
All over the world.
But I feel like, there are times when we should have the freedom to create whatever we want to create, whether it's to have a good time, whether it's to talk about other issues, because, there is the duality of me being black and being a woman. Maybe I want to focus on woman issues, so I do feel as though we should also have that freedom, because we already come into this world feeling weighted, like we have the weight on our shoulders. We have to teach, we have to learn, we have to do this, we have to act a certain way, we have to, so I do believe that there should be some freedom as well.
That's good. That's
Totally
good.
agree. This is good.
Just all of those reflections. First and foremost, thank y'all. Off like that with the first reflection. Like, man, we got some questions to get through, but I'm glad that y'all jumped in on that. So I do want to move on to this next question. And Elle and Christina, I kind of want y'all to jump in on this one. And then Luke, I'm coming to you for the next question after that. But this next one, Elle and Christina, do you believe art is a necessity for a community? And if so, what are the benefits?
Let me go first, Elle. So is it a necessity? For me, it's a no-brainer. Absolutely, right? Especially in communities of color. I've worked in various underserved communities spanning throughout, South Jersey and DC, primarily with youth. And in working in these communities, I've discovered some of the most talented, not just youth, but individuals. So I think especially when it comes to communities of color, And because art is so weaved in the very fabric of our culture, it's like, how can you not implement art into the community?
Right.
So when I consider cultural history and tradition, I think of oral histories that were handed down via song and dance. I think about the theatrical elements that were used in rituals and rites of passages. And more specific to this nation, I think of how songs were used as codes in slavery times. I think of music and dance being used as an escape from oppressive systems. I think about the birth of hip hop being a direct product of struggle, and seeing the impact of it still to this day. So it's like I said, how can you not implement art into the community when the community is art? And art has a power to shift narratives, change perceptions, and to really make things happen. And I think even when you consider and reflect on the major historic movements in history, I often wonder to myself, would it have been as impactful had it not been for the arts and artists?
Right.
I think about, for example, the civil rights movement. I think about, songs like Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday and Change Won't Come by Sam Cooke. I think about some of the powerful images that the photographers took that captured those significant moments that we see time and time again. I think about poems by Maya Angelou and Nikki Giovanni. I think about the works of James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, and the list goes on, right? All artists. So, to me, I'm like, would the movement even have been the same? Would it have been as impactful had you not had these elements? Because that's what really tugged on the heartstrings of the people, right?
Right.
So, yeah, to me, art in the Black community is in everything that we do. It's in the way we move, it's in our intricate hairstyles, it's in our laid edges, it's in our vernacular, it's in our cadence. We are art. So to me, how can you not have art in a community? And I'm gonna shut on up.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to jump on that, El?
Listen, this conversation is meant to be. But yeah, Christina hit it right on the nose. First of all, we live in a community. We live in communities that are brought together and by various ways. And delving into the fact that we're in a pandemic right now. And when you look at all of the things that have transpired prior to this pandemic, right? They took out all of the artistic expression out of mainstream schooling, except for elementary. They're transferring kids outside of the district to various technical institutes. But yet we can't get that same artistic expression, home economics, wood shop, culinary arts, poetry, creative writing, journalism. We can't get any of that in our mainstream schooling. And it's number one, and that's what I'm fighting for now, because we have to put that back in. The difference is that art has been for so long, no matter what your type of expression is, it has been a way to vocalize the things that you're going through. Yes. It has been therapy, and it is. It's my therapy every time I hit a stage. It is healing mechanism. It is medicinal. It's also a way to communicate with other people that don't know how to communicate or aren't always efficient in communicating. So when we talk about, is it important for it to be a figure of our communities, and it is definitely important. It has to be. There's no way to cut it off. I personally believe that Atlantic City is one of the dopest art sanctuaries out here, and we don't get enough recognition. And of all the years that I've been on the streets, and I've been as an artist of all the years, even prior to that, just watching people, there are poets and writers and journalists in Atlantic City that have never gotten their flowers, ever. I'm talking like Askia, and I'm talking like Miss Jeanette, and I'm talking like Miss Patty Harris, who was a dancer, but brought the arts together on so many different platforms. Miss Phyllis Hawkins, these are people that brought it together on so many different platforms that it's a appalling to see that from where we've come from and they've come from, it is no longer an atmosphere of freedom, especially in the school system. So we have to, it's very important to put it back and to have it here We have to give our children who are laying idle right now an opportunity to express themselves
Yes.
without
Yes.
the bullet, without a knife, without fist fighting. You know, all
Right.
the things we had when we were kids, but we didn't have to resort to them because mom said, "No, you're going to dance class tonight.
Mm.
Ain't no hanging outside. You're going to dance class. Go get your stuff." And I said, "Be ready and at the car." Period. We don't have that anymore stationary, so we definitely got to get back to it.
Absolutely. I just want to jump in there real quick. Agreeing, piggybacking on what Elle said, that's absolutely true. We have to, for me, I'm a big advocate for arts in the community for one particular reason, and that is to provide an option for those youth who are artistic and they need some form of expression. Also, there's kids who are homeschooled who don't have that social interaction on a daily basis, but they may come to an art program. When I was doing my All-Star Drama Club at the Pleasantville Recreation Center, there was plenty of youth who were not in school. They were homeschooled. Their parents brought them there so they can have some social interaction. And I just think that outlet is necessary for those type of youth, because if we don't have the arts, then you have a whole demographic of the next generation who are ignored, and that will lead to a lack of accountability when they become adults and when they go to be, become social leaders. You know what I mean? They'll have this gap in their time here on this earth that they were not nourished, they were not stimulated, and so that for me, the arts must be a part of the community so we can have options for our youth.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And music therapy. When we was growing up, music therapy was a part of our daily, special. It wasn't like you had music 2 or 3 days out of the week. Nah, we literally had choir every day. Miss Hughes, Miss Marinette Todd, you know what I'm saying? Mr. T.C. Michaels.
Yeah.
Please listen. You know what I mean? That was that's what we need. We need to continue to keep building that.
Yeah, I agree with all of you, with what you're saying, and that's actually that's a great segue into this next part. And I really want to direct this towards Luke as well as Arthur, but I want to go with Luke first because Elle said a few things that caught my attention in regards to like the community environment and just the way things were set up before. So going into this next section, art and faith, I do have a question, two questions actually, but I'm gonna ask this first one. And Luke, I'll let you go first. How much has the environment that you were raised in influenced your art?
You guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, brother.
Oh, I gotta ask every time because my camera. Wow. But my it affects everything. My art. It affects how I play, how I come up with songs. I grew up in church, so like I learned how to play in church. So I'm always gonna have that background in everything I do, everywhere I go. So it's a part of me because it's a part of my childhood. And they say things are printed on your mind from 0 to 6. The most I was playing like by like 3.
Wow.
I'm printed in church, so it's going to always be with me wherever I go. In all music that I do, I could do it. I could do other music, but you could tell like there's a style from just my upbringing.
That's real. That's real. Arthur, what about you? How has the environment?
Ask the question once again because I want to fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. How much has the environment you were raised in? How much has it influenced your art?
Oh man, when I think about the environment I was raised in, first of all, from the age of 5 until the day I graduated from college, I was a foster child, and a ward of the state of the state of Washington D.C. Now, my foster parents are old enough to be my grandparents, but one thing that my foster mom, in particular, instilled in me was a love of Black culture. And it was just the little simple things that she would do. And I'll give an example of one. We would get the Ebony and we would get the Jet every week or every month, whenever it came. And she would do something as simple as cut out those little pictures of the different Black people that would appear, and she would take little things and paste them in there and do little projects with them. But the thing that I learned through that was who these people were. So at a young age, I knew who Louis Armstrong was. I knew who Ella Fitzgerald was, and all these people like this. So when I came home one day after being at school, when we opened up our new theater at our school, and I came home to my mom, who was never really crazy, to be honest with me, about me being in the arts to the extent that I was. I was a student at Duke Ellington School of the Arts by then. And I came home one day from the opening of our theater, and I said, "Ma, guess who I met today?" And she said, "Who?" And I said, "I met Lena Horne, and she signed this for you." And she lit up like a Christmas tree, you know. And when I think about that, and I think about my upbringing in the church, I can remember deciding that I was going to be a performing artist, standing in front of everybody up at the altar, having just sang a solo or done a speech or something. But I can remember at that point saying, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And so when I think about my background, the folks that I came from, the doors that were open for me, the experiences that I had and shared, there's no doubt in my mind that were it not, I mean, I was just talking to one of my old classmates the other day about when my tap partner and I went back to DC, and we happened to do a performance at my old elementary school. And the gentleman that I credit with really opening me up as an artist in terms of writing was my teacher, my 5th and 6th grade teacher, Mr. Beasley. And so to be standing before him doing a performance as a tap dancer, then at the end, getting a chance to express to him how much it meant for me to read my poem in his class the day that he had me read my poem, and how well it was received, to my shock. You know, it was something else. So all of those things are part of the whole scope of who the beginning formations of who I was as an artist, and laying out that foundation, and you know, just being fundamentally aware of the path that I was going to be taking. So absolutely.
That's good. That's good. Before I move on to the next one, did anybody else want to kind of jump in on that question real quick? Next one's a little more personal, but I wanted to kind of get this one out, because we all grew up somewhat in the same environment, but you know, very different at times, depending on where you were. Like you said, he was pretty much raised in the church. I was raised in the church, but I also grew up in, you know, Woodland Terrace, which was the hood. So it's like it was a weird culmination of things that I was
Right.
So it influenced me in like a completely different way than it may have influenced somebody else that had, you know, both parents at home, a backyard, all this stuff. So anybody else want to jump in that before we move forward?
Women's was the church.
Right. Right.
Not on the stoop.
Right. I feel like I need to hear the question one more time. I mean, like I get the gist, but I just want to make sure I hit on every point before.
Yeah. The question is, how much has the environment that you were raised in, how much has it influenced your art?
Okay, so majorly. Like again, most of us, I was brought up in the church. But I was around, I had humble beginnings and things like that. So I was around a lot of different things and exposed to a lot of negative things, unfortunately, at a young age. So it was, drugs in the environment and violence and different things, or whatever. Just being exposed to a lot of things I maybe shouldn't have. And then growing up in a community to whereas the crazy thing was there was art around, but like I didn't know about it. Right? Like,
Okay.
I didn't know it was there, So being, exposed to that type of trauma growing up, and then also being a part of the church is actually what gave me an opportunity to express myself artistically. It was the first place I started dancing, the first place I started singing, the first place I expressed myself, and then on into school, where there were teachers who would notice my gift. You know, maybe when I was a problem child in the class, they were like, "But you like to draw, right? Let me sit you down in the corner and give you something to draw." You know what I mean? So you can like leave everybody alone. So it was just all of those factors played a role in the artist that I am now. I like to touch on those issues, those traumatic issues, and youth who may have gone through similar upbringings or whatever, because those stories aren't told as much. And so my art focused a lot around trauma, healing from, just, whatever your struggle may have been growing up. So, and as all in all, my art is my community and environment growing up definitely plays a part, because I believe I get my foundation and the lessons in my art from my environment that I grew up in.
That's good. That's good. I do want to, man, that's good. Just to think about that, because I know, just looking at all of you, knowing all of you, and kind of hearing the backstory of, where you came from, where you were raised, who was around you, and to see who you've become today, to see how that's kind of shaped your work. It's powerful, and it's a powerful way that you all are expressing yourself through that art. And I really want us to figure the best way to, like, how do we pass that to the next generation? Now, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole tonight because that's a whole nother live stream.
Right.
I do have a few more questions that I do want to ask you all before I let you go, because I don't want to hold y'all all evening. Even though I would love to, but I want to get these questions out because I actually want to know the answers to these questions. And I believe it's going to help me. I'm not necessarily an artist per se in regards to music or painting and dance. I dance a little bit. I mean, I know how to do some Jersey club stuff. I mean, but outside of that, it's like it's helping me with my writing because I'm an author and I love to write and things like that. So this next question, and Luke, I really want to know your perspective because you've worked with a lot of people, bro, in different industries, different walks of life. Some believers, some not. I want to ask this, and then anybody else can feel free to jump in right after. But specifically, Luke, have you struggled with your expression as an artist that may appear to contradict your faith or belief system? Like I said, you're in different rooms with different artists, different producers, and you grew up in the church, a believer. Have you struggled with expressing, yourself as an artist? Has that been difficult?
Yeah, it has been at times. Sometimes I know how to get into character, I should say. So I know how to do the music to wherever it needs to be. You know what I mean? And I know that can be scary to some people because it's like, well, I live in that. It's like, no, it's like I look at it as an actor or actress. I do know some actresses that have limits. You know what I mean? Like I have done music that I haven't been comfortable doing. I've done music that I was comfortable doing at the time, and I look back and wonder, am I comfortable doing that? And then there's also been times where I just did it. Like I can't really, give it that. But growing up, I did want to make sure like I represented, because it's crazy. You can travel the world, but you'll think about somebody thinking of Atlantic City. I'll think about like my mom, my dad. Most important, those are important people to think about actually. But I'm saying, but like just trying to make sure, like I'm not offending somebody over here, but then I do this, so it's tough. You know what I mean? Like like now I don't really have too many problems or issues with it. I did when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. But now you're more seasoned in the game. You've been around for a while, so you feel like you don't have to necessarily kind of tone down who you are, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I don't think that I feel like how can I put it? No, I don't feel like I have to tone it down. I'm just older, so I feel like I can do what I want, but I'm going to do the right thing. If that makes sense. Like if I made a decision, I'm going to live with the decision. Like I'm still, I'm aiming towards the right thing, I should say. So it's like I do have the pressure because you're not doing it for what my parents think or go with somebody else think looks up to me. It's like, no, what do I think? Like, do I think this is right or wrong? You know what I mean? I go with the majority. You see what I'm saying? So I'll be like, yeah, I don't really feel it, and I'm gonna go with it. You know what I mean? And sometimes I may just do something, and I did it. You know, but I look at it as art. Like, you know, and I actually, as I got older, I looked at it as more art. In the sense of, you know, like that could have been a phase I was going through. I don't know. Like, it's just, it's weird. You know what I mean? But I used to laugh at artists when they used to say stuff like that. But now I get it. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe that was the vibe I was in for the, you know, that time. Like, yo, like, because the good thing and bad thing about artists is y'all get to see what we go through. You know what I mean? Like, where they go through our music, whether it comes through. That's why so many of our favorite rappers and singers, they can do rants and stuff. Like, we're actually like we're their audience. You know what I mean? They grew up in front of us. They've been in front of us. So when they're ranting and raving, it's like that feels normal to them because it's like I can't explain it, but it's just like, yo, like it becomes normal. That makes any sense.
Yeah, so, no. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And just to, I guess, continue with that question, because I do want to hear a few more perspectives, because me and Ty talked about this in regards to the art that he's creating. I don't know if y'all been like really checking out his art lately, but it's super expressive in a way where it's like it might, you know, rub some people the wrong way that are, you know, especially in the church, just like, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm like, man, you can't, you know, limit who God created you to be to try to please somebody else. Right. You're afraid that you may offend them with this work that you put out. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. So it's like, I want to hear a few more if anybody else want to jump in on that. And it's pretty much, have you struggled with your expression as an artist? As it may appear that you may contradict your faith or belief system. Like, do you feel like it's a challenge? Is it a struggle for you when you're creating your art? Are you thinking about, you know, everybody else, like kind of like, ah, man, you know, they're going, you know, the people that's too saved going to be like, okay, now you're going to feel like.
I'm sorry, I've never been that one. You know what I mean? And reason being is because, hey, I come from one of those kind of grandmothers that used to say, if they don't like it, they don't like it. So what? Keep pushing. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is that, you know, I was in a position before where I said, you know, I just wanted to serve at home because I'm a church kid. You know, I wanted to express my art at home. And, you know, that door was not always open to me.
Right.
It wasn't always open. You know, it's cute when we little kids, oh my God, Black History, yay. Yay. They said it's so cute. And then when we get older, and then they know we got a mind of our own and we really start speaking from our heart. That's when it's like, nah, cut her off. Don't let her. You're not doing this. And the problem is that, and I'm gonna be real transparent here. The problem is that, and this is not coming against the church or my church family or any church at all, but the problem is that is the exact issue in the church. Because we forgot what it was to go out and have people freed and see people healed on the outside, and we haven't transitioned that on the inside. And when it comes on the inside, we immediately turn a blind eye to it or shut it down. In voices of expression, you know what I'm saying? Because now, mind you, as a poet, and as a spoken word artist, when I tell you I hit the scene, I go to Philly right now and shut that joint down. Literally. And I'm not, that's not bragging. That's because we built a fan base, and people know who you are. They watch, no matter where you go, they watch. And because it's open scene, it doesn't matter if it's in a church. I remember when I was singing with Lonnie, we was shedding. We was up at Bethany and at Sharon Baptist.
Hey.
Like, I'm talking like 12, 1, 2 in the morning. Luke, I know you remember. Things used to be heavy. And that's really, really when I first started seeing those, and that's back in like 2003, 4, 5. Yeah. When the church was really, the open mics was in the church. You go to Philly and hit Sharon Baptist right now, and I guarantee you that even though it's a pandemic, soon as they come out, they're gonna be shedding. Because they wanted that expression. They wanted the voices of the young people. They wanted the voices of, for us to get out and express and talk and openly share our arts. Not here.
Right.
It's not as accepted here, and it hadn't been until some of us had to go and say, listen, if you can allow praise dancing, you can allow hip hop, gospel hip hop, and tradition. Old heads used to say, nah, that's that rap stuff ain't for the church. We don't want it. Throw it out. Now, because it's a way of communicating with your younger crowd and how to bring people in and how to help them to feel that realism. So for me, it wasn't always like that.
Right.
I wasn't able to go into my home base and share my word. Now, when I went down into the bars and the lounges, all hell broke loose. And I'm talking about throwing crackers and wine at you. No, you ain't. Let me sprinkle this water on the altar. Because you talking poetry in a bar? Let me tell you something about God's witness. Wherever and whenever he takes you, trust and believe that one person is going to come out. And I wouldn't be able to attest to that if I wasn't on tour. I was on tour in Georgia. And we were in a lounge-like scene. And people drink. They drink. They do whatever. By the time God got finished, when I'm telling you, this man ran after me in tears, was like, I ain't never had church on a poetry scene in a lounge. You just brought the whole church here. And I'm just looking at him like, what? He ran me down in the parking lot. I'm like, yo, I'm running. Who is this man? Why is he chasing me? Where is my goon squad? But it's just to show you that we have to get out of that mentality that nothing can come past, because God didn't allow that. He didn't want that. He said, I want you to bring all your gifts, all your talents, all your fruits. And here we allow man to make up what they want to, and then they shut us all down because it's not what they understand. But we can be versatile and make it so everybody can understand. You know what I mean? So
I agree. Chrissy, did you have something on you?
Yeah, sure. So I like unlike Elle, I did not always have the confidence to do whatever I wanted to do, because I was always thinking about what my mom gonna say, what my daddy gonna say, what my pastor gonna say. And I want to go back to what Luke said about, going through phases, right? I think as artists, and even not just as artists, as human beings, we are going through the world trying to find our way. And so we need to be allowed that freedom to do so without recompense, because our art often reflects our life at that moment. So we need to be allowed that growth, and I don't find that liberty is given in the church a lot of times. And I know I mentioned the story last time about my show that I did some years back about Black love, and I debated having this making love scene, which is part of the love story, right? And I went back and forth with myself whether or not I wanted to depict that scene and dance on this stage, because I knew there were going to be people from my church there and my family. And they all still see me as little Chrissy dancing for the Lord at the altar, right? So I went back and forth with it. And then finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it, because it's a part of the love story, and to take that out would change the whole, narrative of the show.
Dynamics, right.
And God made sex anyway, for the married folk, of course. But, so I went ahead. I was so nervous, and I went ahead and went through with it. And we did it tastefully, of course. It wasn't like bumping and grinding on the stage. It was very artistically and artfully done. And it was well received. In my mind, I was cracking up because I heard some of the oohs and the ahs and the Christies, because Black people just can't be quiet during the show.
Right.
But I think overall, it went well, and we had conversations afterwards, and overall, it was actually well received. The people cracked their jokes afterwards. but it was pretty well received. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and continue to do what I want to do with my art because it's my art. And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. You don't have to watch it. But I shouldn't feel restricted, with my talents because of your feelings. Because at the end of the day, I'm the only one that's going to feel slighted if I didn't get everything out of me that, was supposed to be poured out.
Teach them.
So that's my.
It was out there going like, "Ooh, my."
Right.
Yeah, right.
The low girl,
Like,
I didn't know if those oohs and ahs was coming because it was coming from me or if they was having flashbacks. I said, now y'all got to check yourselves, okay? Y'all little hot shot in these seats. Relax.
Clarify y'all motives.
Right.
No, but like I remember that show, Chrissy. It was tastefully done.
Thank you.
But no, I again back to what Luke said, and I'm gonna be real quick so we can move forward. But what Luke said, as far as like you get to see what we go through, that's absolutely true. Like, where artists express themselves through their art. Like, you know what I mean? If someone's not an artist, maybe you express yourself through your carpentry or whatever the case may be. But we express ourselves through our art, and whatever we're at, whatever season we're in, it tends to come out in our art. Also, I wanted to say that my responsibility is to the calling on my life, right? So if God said, okay, you're an artist, and I have people, that are called to you, then my thing is, okay, I'm responsible to that call is on my life, and then also responsible for those who are called to the messages in my art. So I can't, if I downplay what I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do, then that means I'm eating them. I'm giving my audience milk when they need the meat. You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of decipher how I express myself. Am I being obedient to the call of my life, and am I being responsible for those who need what I have to say and what I have to create? And I've learned that. And I had my a spiritual father of mine who's still to this day, who told me, Ty, I know you're an artist. He used to say, if you want to go to Broadway, go to Broadway. Like, you singing in his church every Sunday, that's wonderful. But like, if you want to go to Broadway, do that. And he was like, it's not about what you can and can't do. Is what is your conviction? If you don't have conviction in what you're doing, then do it and do it to the fullest. You know what I mean? And so that really gave me a peace. There are people in the church and people in the community who will see you. You know what I mean? And say, go forward, do it. And I've had both experiences. I've had church people discourage me, and I've had church people be the biggest push in my life. So, and that's the regular people and whatever people, you know what I mean? I've had all experiences, but I think it's just about being true to yourself and allowing and seeking an understanding of artists before you judge, before you think that we're out here being crazy, just doing whatever we want to do. You know what I mean? Just expressing things, like seek to understand what our story is and why we express the way we express ourselves. And then and there can be an open conversation.
I like that you said being true to yourself. I was just going to say that I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to authenticity. You need to be authentically you. And that's what people connect with. I remember another dance piece I did some years back as well. And we depicted an abusive relationship. And I mean, the oohs and ahs in that crowd, like people were really resonating with that. Like they had been in these abusive, you can tell by the way that they were calling out the situation. I prettied that up, it wouldn't have connected the same with people. The message wouldn't have been the same. So once again, I just think it's all about you being authentic to who you are and sharing your message.
So I want to say this really quick. First of all, one of my favorite quotes by George C. Wolfe, who is a genius. And if you guys haven't read any of his work or really honed into who this guy is, he is an absolute genius. He single-handedly through, and I just happen to have it here, this play here, the Colored Museum, changed my life. It changed the way that I saw myself as a Black person. It changed the way that I saw my community. It changed everything when I was in college, just changed everything. And I owe so much of who I am to George C. Wolfe, who I've never met. But this particular production we did at UArts changed my life. And one of the quotes he has in there that I really love is, God created Black people and Black people created style. And it's that type of straightforwardness that he puts out there. And because it not only speaks to Black people, but it also speaks to artists. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about some amazing work that's been put out there. And my first and my number one favorite quote by him is from the play, And it says, so honey, don't waste your time trying to label or define me, because I'm not what I was 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. I'm all of that and then some. And whereas I can't live inside yesterday's pain, I can't live without it. And for me, that just sums up who we are as Black people. The play delves into our contradictions, and it delves into a lot of things that, make us who we are as Black people. So when we talk about artists and the way we express ourselves, and being true to our voice, it's imperative that we are in touch and we're in line with that connection. Some of the first words of the Bible is God created. So when you're a creator, you are directly linked up to that line that says that you are connected to the creator. So you're creating something, because our ideas are that we are trying to create things and to be God-like. And so that creativeness comes through who we are as artists, what we depict, what we choose to show. And so when you are able to quiet yourself down in those moments and really listen to what that thing is and exercise what that thing is, you come away with some astounding things. I've sat down thinking that something is going to happen this way, and it ends up happening this way. And when I look at the whole thing of it, I'm like, wow, I created that. Yeah, that was a creator. I had a part of it, but that lineage, because of the honesty that I've had and shared with the creator, and he's allowed me to have these thoughts where I'm able to go through and create, are essential. And so in order for me to navigate through what I should do and what I should not do, a lot of that comes with that direct connection with the creator. And so when we know that, we're able to push forward. We're able to do things that may be incredible to some. I mean, it still amazes me to this day, and I got to tell you, because I'm old school, it still amazes me to this day that every church has a praise dance group. That is absolutely astounding to me, because I can remember as a youth when we went to a youth retreat and I got up to do a solo to, I think it was Richard Small with Psalms 8. And people were kind of like, like they didn't quite know how to receive it because it had not been introduced. So now when I go and they see that they have these praise dance conferences and people are doing it online and every church has a choir and a praise dance group, I am absolutely blown away by that. I am astounded by that, because I can remember the first time I saw somebody do a dance that had anything to do with worship of God was at my church in a multi-purpose room. This girl came and danced to a song, and I was completely blown away by the fact that she danced to a gospel song. And so I'm ending this with this. Remember this about our churches. Remember this about our spirituality. There was a point in time when gospel music was seen as bad. There was a point in time when "Oh Happy Day" could not be sung in the church. There was a point in time. I remember as a little boy hearing it played on the radio. And when you listen to the elders talk about gospel music, early gospel music was anthems. There was no gospel music. When you listen to Richard Small, we'll talk about the history of gospel music and how Howard University had the first gospel choir, and people didn't know how to receive that in the Black church. That right there goes to show you how minds can be formed and how creativity can change and alter people's minds and perception. Because you would never believe in this day and age where the number 2 gospel artist, who is Kirk Franklin, the number 1 was Mahalia Jackson. I'm sorry, number 1 was Aretha Franklin. That album she did, her Amazing Grace album, was the number 1 all-time gospel album all time. Number 2 was Kirk Franklin's really big album, Stomp and all that on it. That was the number 2 album. It's hard to believe now that there was a point in time when that was not acceptable.
Right.
So I leave it with that.
That was meaty, as expected, from Arthur Taylor. Yes, the history, man. The history is what pushes us, man. And we have to know our history. I think that's what is our push as well. Unknowingly, subconsciously, we have this innate push as artists today from those who have paved the way before us. So I think that's also a good understanding for audiences watching now and people who will experience our art to understand that it's not just us wanting to wake up. Because how many of us do this fearfully? Like, you know, you'd be like, oh God, I'm about to get on stage. Oh God, I'm about to dance. Oh God, I'm about to perform again in front of somebody with fear. And people don't realize the work and the turmoil you put yourself through as an artist just to get a project off the ground, just to have the nerve to say something or whatever. And sometimes it's like, what is it that's pushing me? And along with God, of course, being number one, it's a push of the ancestors that's like, we need you to keep saying something. We need you to keep going. We need you to, you know, and that's what makes us you know, carry on in our platform. And I'll leave that. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's good. That's good. I was about to hit this air horn when he finished talking. I was about to hit this John. I was about to hit that.
DJ Nate.
I was about to hit that. But no, that was great. Thank you so much, Arthur, for that. As we're moving to close, right? Because again, I don't want to have y'all here all evening. You know, y'all are busy, y'all got lives, things going on. This segment I'm really excited about because I need to know, as someone who is, you know, a business owner, consider myself an entrepreneur. We already know we got to get that money, right? I'm trying to be where the money reside. You know what I'm saying? And I grew up in a community, or more so in an environment where it was like, it was crazy because we didn't talk about money. And it was almost one of those things where like we feared money, so we stayed broke. And I want to ask some very specific questions. And I'm going to allow all of you to answer this too. 2 questions to kind of close out with. First one is going to be, what are some misconceptions that you have experienced as far as your payment as an artist? Like, what are some misconceptions in regards to paying you as an artist, or somebody paying you for your services, for your music, for your work, for your painting, for your dancing, whatever?
That
anybody can jump in.
Okay, I'm just going to say this one. This the assumption that I'm going to do it for free.
Right.
That's everybody's answer right there. I think
that's the biggest one for me. And here's the thing: I wasn't always so on it. I was always nervous about putting a price on my talent, right? Because you know, especially if you come from the church, because it's like, you know, do it unto the Lord. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? All that stuff there or whatever, or like, you know what I mean? Let the Lord use you, you know what I mean? Is a service unto the Lord, and which it is, okay? But I am worthy of my hire, right? So I had that in the beginning. I was so nervous on putting a price on what my talent was. Then I realized that I was being used and drained, and my art was just was used for someone else's benefit, to draw a crowd, to, you know, help the service or whatever the case may be. That I was like, wow, and I'm struggling still. You know what I mean? They're going to work and getting paid and being sustained, and I'm going to work essentially and giving my art and not being paid and struggling. So that's when I had to make some decisions to really be like, okay, I had to put a value on my art. So that's my piece.
Right. No, that's always the assumption. You're either going to do it for free or you're going to do it for the low. Or you're going to do it for a love offering, which means you don't know what you're going to get or if you're going to get anything, right?
Right. For the love offering.
You know, so, and I think if you're not an artist, you don't really understand the amount of work that goes into a piece of art, whether it's a song, whether it's, you know, musicians coming together to put something together, but this dance. I'm like, yes, this is a 3 to 5 minute dance piece, but it took 6 months to get to this point, right? We had rehearsals, we had to get together. Like, people they see the tip of the iceberg and they don't see the full bottom of what you had to do to get there. And so it's just like, oh, well, you're just going to do a little dance, right? A little song, you know, not realizing just how much work goes into it. But I think it's been unique for me as well, because many times I feel like the dance form or dancers in general are underappreciated. So I've seen people get paid in the church, and it's typically not dancers. Musicians get paid. I know musicians that are on payroll for churches, singers as well. But whenever it comes to dancers, it's just like, oh, y'all just gonna do y'all little thing, right? Y'all just gonna flail around and be done with it. And I'll be feeling slighted. I do. And not that because I've always come into it, and maybe it's just my upbringing too, thinking it is unto the Lord. So that's probably part of the brainwashing too. However, if a church really doesn't have it, I'm not going to charge them, right? I don't think I've charged the church technically to this day, because I'm doing it. I'm doing it for the ministry aspect of it. However, I'm absolutely not opposed to being paid. Because I found myself growing up, I was always so run down. I was doing a lot of things. And a part of that was the stuff I was doing for the church. And I was literally in church like every day or every other day, whether it was for a rehearsal or this ministry or that ministry. And it took up all my time. And it's like, that's taking time away from what I could be doing to make a living for myself.
Right.
And you're really just getting my talents for free. And yes, it's a blessing, it's all these great things, but it's also what God gave to me to help me provide for myself. So I think my experiences has been different from maybe other people on this call who may have gotten paid from the church, but I have never been on anybody's payroll to dance.
I feel like there's and I don't want not to just jump in like that, because I actually just got paid from a church. It wasn't my church, but I got paid from a church for some work that I did for a speaking engagement. So I just always wonder, as like those very creative type of artists that you all are, do you feel like you should expect pay from working for a religious organization, or is it kind of like, yo, it's for the Lord, but my pocket is real dry over here?
Okay,
like,
so
you feel like you should receive.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do you feel like you should there be, because I feel like there's also this assumption that you are going to do it for free. And I feel like that's a huge issue right there. So as artists that sing, dance, do the spoken word, all these different things, do you feel as though should you expect them to have that conversation of like, hey, look, we're going to, what's your price kind of thing? Or is it kind of like, hey, come and serve?
Right. I appreciate the consideration. I like if you come to me and you say, hey, I would like for you to be a part of this here. What is your what is your price? That means you've already considered, and what I do is I'm doing it for a living, and you respecting that. The fact that you open up with that, right? So then that gives me the room to say, okay, well, I have a decision to make. Do I want to put my main price on there, a lower price, or not a price at all, because you considered me and you didn't just be like, okay, I need you here on this night or whatever, and that's it. Like, you know what I mean? So I think I like the consideration. I like the question, how much are you, how much do you charge? I like the question.
Right.
Right. I think it boils down to I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think it really boils down to the church itself as well. Like, I've danced at plenty of small churches, but then I've also danced at larger churches that I know have a payroll. So if you have the resources and you're paying everybody else except for the dancer or me or whatever, my capacity is in that moment, then I'm going to feel slighted. I'm having an issue, because it's not that you don't have it. You know what I mean? But if you don't have it, absolutely, no, that's fine. And it also depends on the capacity that you need me in. If you just want me to dance a piece, sure, and you don't have it, great. But if you want me to come and you want me to teach a workshop and all you're going to pay me in is food or a meal, I'm all right. Because now I'm really pulling on my own resources, not to just dance, but to also teach and to do these other things. So I've been asked the gamut of different duties to do in the church. And like I said, I still don't charge. However, I may feel some type of way if I know you have it and you're not offering it up, but you're paying other people.
Okay, so let me say this. Number one, as a historian here, I'm going to tell you this, and maybe you guys don't know. James Cleveland was notorious for carrying a pistol to all of his performances. Notorious. It was James Cleveland that encouraged. Yeah, you laughing, but I'm telling you the truth.
I believe it. I believe it.
James Cleveland that encouraged Aretha Franklin to start accepting part of her salary in cash. And that's the reason why Aretha Franklin took around that pocketbook, and she laid that pocketbook down on top of the piano before she started to sing. There was a certain amount, I think it was $25,000 or something, that had to be in cash before she even walked on the stage. Were it not received, Aretha wouldn't sing. And it got to one point where she was supposed to sing somewhere, and they hadn't given her money. And she was looking at them like they was crazy, and they was waiting for her to go. And whoever her manager was like, did you get the money? And they were like, what money? You know, it's on a contract. You have to have $25,000 or whatever before she hits the stage, and the rest of it can be in the check. And they were like, oh, so they had to scramble, run, get to the bank, do what they need to do to get that cash. Now, I said all that to say that one of the biggest struggles with African-American artists is our worth. Our worth. Not only in our church community, but in our regular community, you know. And so it is incumbent upon us to decide when we are donating our time and when we are expecting to be paid properly.
That's good. That's good.
And so those conversations from the door need to be had, because when you are negotiating or you're talking to whoever you're talking to, if you're dealing with the business person alone, they appreciate that upfront acknowledgement from the beginning, because that you're saying to them, I respect you as a professional, you're going to respect me as a professional, and this, that, and the other thing. Now, occasionally you'll run into situations where you feel like, I'm just going to do this for free, or I'm just going to do this pro bono or whatever, and I'm not going to worry about it. This is something that I want to do, and I want to just offer my time because this, that, and the other thing. But make sure that you are making that decision and someone is not making that decision for you. And so if that is the case and you're comfortable with that, then that's good. But to hit it off from the door, and you don't want to hit it off, and I understand you don't want to hit it off where you're kind of like, oh, I'm just for the money. But the bottom line is that these churches are well-oiled machines. And they paid the gardener, they paid the custodian, the pastor gets his money. So, you know, in the long run, and like I said before, when I look at the fact that when I heard that story about James Cleveland, I said, oh my God, but it was the truth. And so, because many of those early gospel artists got ripped off, Clara Ward and all those, they got ripped off sometimes. So what they started to do is come up with a system to where they got paid, because you know, the people who were representing them didn't look like us. They were from another persuasion, so they were getting their cut as well. So I just want you to, and even as folks who maybe are not under agency or what have you like that, just keep that in mind as young artists. You know, when you decide that you want to do this pro bono, don't be pushed or backed away in the corner where you feel like, okay, I guess I got to do a pro bono. You know, from the door, hit the joint, and then they understand where you stand. All right, that's my advice as far as that goes.
Yeah,
I would have to say that I was not always, and I'm glad Mr. Leo brought up that we struggle with our worth.
Right.
I got a boss right now, right? My fiance, that's my boss. She don't play no games when it comes to making sure things are done etched in stone, contracts, whatever. She does not play any games. And the first time she said to me, this is after we were in a church, a big church at that. And she said, they asked you to come recite. We have been talking about it for days. I said, yeah. She said, okay, I talked to the lady, and they said they'll have a love offering for you. Love offering.
Love offer.
And listen, I'm not one to boast, and I'm not one to take advantage. Right. But don't take advantage of me, right?
Right.
I got there. Now I was scheduled to do 2 pieces. And the sister said, do you think you could stay up a little longer? A little longer. And I said, I don't have a problem with that. God is good. We're gonna work this thing out.
Right.
And anybody, like I said, you know, if you see me recite, you know I labor. I don't mess around. I labor.
Absolutely.
And so got done, and the lady passed the love offering, and she said, "Thank you so much." She was so nice. She was, "Thank you so much. God bless you." And the love offering was like a $20 bill in a Victoria's Secret bag, not Victoria's Secret, one of them old floral smells that come from Bath and Body Works. It in a loofah sponge.
Right.
I said, "My God, what are we doing? Are we passing the offering plate for Bath and Body Works?" Now, mind you, I don't talk, they had me up there tarrying. It turned into, you know what I mean? And I was okay. I was okay up until then because I was alerted. I was alerted when I walked in the door. "Oh, we have your money." And I said, "Oh, well, bless you." You know what I mean? Because I don't like to talk finances in front of people.
Right.
When you get to church, there's a lot of nosy folks.
Right.
They stay close just so they can hear.
Right.
So I said, "Okay, no problem." So when I got done, and I was in there singing, reciting, praise the Lord, I was doing it all. And so I said, when she gave it to me and I checked the envelope, when I was down in the pew, like, oh, because I like to put stuff in my pocket because you got kleptos in church. So,
You got to spare real quick, huh?
Kleptos in church. So and I said, "Oh, well, to God be the glory." Listen, the boss wasn't having it. The boss. She said,
Right.
"Oh, hell no." Oh, God.
Right.
But it's the reason why now, in knowing my worth, there's contracts. Let's fill them out prior to this event, so I know what's coming or what you have allotted for me. We talk about honorariums. We talk about contracts and how much we charge. And I'm not afraid to do that anymore. I used to be. I used to step back and scale back, but I'm not. You can't be because you're selling yourself short. And when we labor in love because that's what our art is. It's a gift of love. And so, like Sis said, if you could pay the musicians and the janitorial. I need my coin. You need no line, no little dance. This is a big dance. So
how to get time if you're not paying me?
I can't get my 10% back because they ain't give me 10%. No, but it is important to know your worth and to not scale back because people will take advantage of you, and it definitely happens in the church house first. Now, when, like I said, if I'm outside of those walls, when I tell you blessings after blessings after blessings, people ask me, "El, you want to train tonight? You need a place to stay? We got you." I mean, and they don't mess around. This is from here to New York to Chicago to Philly to Maryland, anywhere I go. But if it's in the church, they'd be like, "Thank you very much. How you getting home? Oh, let me call you a cab."
Right. And I've been in those instances too, where like the cost to get there wasn't even covered. Like I've had to travel outside the state and gas and stuff's not even covered. I'm like, so not only am I giving of my time, now I'm also giving of my money to help y'all out. Without being compensated, so I love that, you brought up how, we're often undersold, Black people, we're not paid our worth or we don't know our worth. Cause I was also going to bring that up too. I think it also boils down to, a race issue, not saying that Black people are cheap, but historically we haven't always had the resources. And I feel like that mentality has carried through the generations, even though now a lot of these churches have the resources, and they still expect you to do things for free. But also the intersectionality of being a woman, because in general, Black people are underpaid in the regular work world. And then on top of that, women are underpaid. So being a Black woman, I'm underpaid all around, and sometimes it feels weird trying to assert yourself, in the regular world. So to try to come to the church and do it, it's almost like a slight conviction. And I think, I don't think that conviction is correct. I think it comes from years of just, having to deal with this. But that always comes to mind too. So it's just like, how do you assert yourself politely? In love of God
Yeah,
without coming off as offensive, right? Because you still don't want to miss the opportunity to bless people, because someone may have needed that dance that day. They may have
Right.
needed that
That's
song.
true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's just always trying, you're like always teetering on that line, trying to figure out, okay, do I do it unto God and be okay with it? Or do I go in there and charge my worth? And
Right.
if it don't work out, dust my hands of it and be free,
Right.
you know?
They be
Yeah.
like,
That's
let
rough.
me go on down here and get you this chicken dinner, baby. You all
Like, I don't even eat meat, sis. I don't even eat that. Like,
Right.
Can I get a cup of fruit or something?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
My arteries
Hey,
is lady.
Hey,
A
Luke.
slice of pound cake.
Hey, Luke, you've worked with, like, you know, Grammy nominated artists and winners and things like that. Do you feel like there's a tug on you specifically as an artist within the church, kind of like to come up and show, and I would say not be compensated?
I only dealt with that kind of like in church. Never dealt. Can you hear me?
Say
Can you
that
hear
last
me?
part again.
I said I only dealt with it in church.
Mm.
Like, I don't know where they picked that up from. But that's yeah, that's only been in church, and quite frankly, it's really crazy because it's never been like a family member. I've never
Mm.
had like my grandfather, for instance. He's my bishop, my apostle. You know what I mean? On top of that, he's my grandpa. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just find it admirable and honorable that I can go over there and play on a Friday night service, and he'll be like trying to give me, $100, something like
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, Papa, you don't gotta do that. You know what I mean? I don't know if that energy is everywhere, because
Mm.
then people start picking that up and being like, oh, well, I played at a church, man, they shouted for at least, I want to say, that church was wrecked. Like, we had to at least play for like 5 hours. Like, I walked in, all the seats was normal. I left, it looked like a Hurricane Katrina hit it.
Yeah.
I was there, and I remember the preacher got up, and he was like, "We gonna get the musicians enough to get something at Wawa," and it sounded funny. You know what I mean? But guess where I was at that night? At Wawa, because they gave me $30. You know what I mean? Like, and but I dealt with that more in church. Like, yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Then I have people say that I'm supposed to not really charge them. You know what I mean, I don't know. Once again, I don't know where that philosophy came from.
Right.
I do like. I don't really have it too much like everywhere else though.
Yeah.
No problem.
Unfortunately, I appreciate that, Luke. Like, that, and being honest about that, because, like, for real, I've experienced it in the church and out of the church, but more so in the church. I've done a lot of things, and it's because people will see you doing so much in the church that they just automatically assume you're going to do it for free. And like Luke said, I don't know where they got that philosophy from, but like that's what it is, more than not. And for myself, it's just I just had to really, again, learn my value, learn what, like, okay, I have to put a price on this, or I'm just going to be drained, right? I'm going to be drained and not able to sustain my own self and my own bills, So you have to put a price on who you are. But guys, I do not want to belabor this any longer. I'm waiting for, I think Nate stepped away for a second, but I did want to touch on this really, really quickly, and then we'll be done, and I will be able to give you a big announcement. Where are we at right now with emotionally or with the George Floyd case? I know I just wanted to mention this for a moment because I've noticed our community has been noticeably quiet, and for no one's fault or anything like that, but I've noticed the silence, and I wanted to know how you all felt about that. Have you been paying attention to the trial? Where do you stand at with it, or is it just like I can't watch it any longer? Anyone can jump in there.
This trial is disgusting, man. I'm gonna tell you why. Two reasons why. What kind of hope are we giving our young men who are watching this and really just don't have answers? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And really just don't have answers, but they don't feel like they have an outlet either. You know what I'm saying? But we're watching this trial, and I definitely keep up with everything. We're watching this trial, and it's sickening, all of the stunts and all of the things that they're putting in. So now it's George Floyd. He was how did they say it? He didn't have, they basically, what they're trying to say is through the autopsy, he didn't have enough air anyway. So you mean to tell me that that chokehold didn't kill him? Or that knee on his neck didn't kill him? Like, they're really trying to put in other things as far as a medical reasoning to say, well, he already was suffering with this, so that wasn't the reason. The knee wasn't the reason why he was dying. Like, bruh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. You let this man die on at face value on the street, face on the ground, while he was saying that he could not breathe, and you thought it was a joke. Oh, if you could breathe, then you wouldn't be talking right now. If you couldn't breathe, you wouldn't be talking right now. So you mean to tell me, so you allow this man to take my life in front of all of these people, in front of a world, and somebody streaming on live TV, or you know what I'm saying? And then get in court, and you basically tell my family, and you tell the people that were supporting me, oh, he was already, he didn't have as much oxygen anyway. What kind of nonsense is that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? It's really a setup to draw us to a point of aggression and anger. Well, first of all, the people are already angry.
Right.
And people are already drawn conclusions about what the next step is. They just don't believe that it's there, because they didn't believe it's the same belief system that they had when people was talking about people are protesting. Oh, no, they're not. Right. Until it came to their doorstep, until it tore down some stuff, until it tore down. There's my sister. Y'all see her? Until it tore down so many things going on in neighborhoods where they're like, these things don't ever happen. Well, guess what? You know why it doesn't ever happen? It's because you haven't had people to challenge the way you treat them. You know what I'm saying? You haven't had people come up against you because y'all feel like, I'm just going to say it, some white folks, okay, because we have to put it there, the way that it's being portrayed and the way that our ancestors and forefathers and we have been treated. And you know what I'm saying? We treat ourselves this way. Other people come in and treat us this way. And yet we're supposed to continue to keep living that way. I'm disgusted by the whole thing. It's the same feeling I felt with Eric Garner's case. Same feeling that I felt with my man from Baltimore and New Orleans. Like, it's so much. It's overwhelming. They're not giving us a break and a reason to, celebrate. Now we got to keep going aggressively after things that, come on, we all want the opportunity to live life and to breathe freely and to enjoy our life. I'm not trying to take nothing away from you. I just want to be in my black skin with my cup of lemonade, chilling up under the shade, and not have any 5-0 or the badges come and ask me why am I there. Like,
right.
Yeah. This is why I'm not watching it. I have not been keeping up with it because I literally do not have the mental capacity to watch something else. It's happened time and time again. And it's unfortunately, many of the trials go the same way. And I'm praying that this is not the case for this go round. But either way, we know how America KKK typically does us Black folks and how we're portrayed in the news. The narratives that are often pushed, even though we are not in the wrong, to paint a picture of us that's not accurate in order to save whiteness, right? To save the perspective of whiteness. So I don't have the mental capacity for it at this time. I am really trying to watch my mental health. I know Nate is all about mental health. And I have to do that for me because I know how much it affects me. With everything else already going on, I know people are already at a place of burnout. I see it in our students. I see it in our, my professionals that I work with, and just all around. We're already burnt out because of the pandemic in general. And then it's this, and it's always something else for Black people. And so in order to kind of quell that and, curtail those thoughts, I have to protect myself and just not watch it.
Right. I agree 100%. Been keeping up with the updates, been hearing a lot of the things that have been going on in the trial. Cannot watch. Just a feeling like I would be re-traumatizing myself. And so I think part of the reason why the silence is in the Black community right now is because what we're trying to do is to gird ourselves and to garner ourselves so that in the event that it doesn't go the way we anticipate it's going to go, that we can start the healing process early on. And that's a sad state to be in. Everybody, again, just like Chrissy said, is burnt out. This whole pandemic thing has just made everything a million times worse. But as Black people, we have always persevered. We've always pushed forward. We've always taken those negative things that have occurred in our communities to our communities and pressed forward. And out of it has always come something beautiful and essential. And so it's important that as artists that we continue the process to heal our communities, continue to use this as fodder to show how beautiful we are as people. I've said it before and I continue to say it. The biggest problem that we have as Black people is not racism. Our biggest problem is self-hate. And if we could garner ourselves even 10% more toward loving ourselves, 10% more, it would make all the difference in our communities. Because then we wouldn't be fighting each other about this, that, and the other thing. We would all be on the same page or close to the same page. Because again, we are a community of contradictions. And so all of us are not on the same page. If you as a DA can stand up there and create a lie about Breonna Taylor and have this lie published around the world and know that people are going to catch you in the lie and do it anyway. Self-hate is the number one problem. That is the number one problem. And if we could work through that and even cure it just 10%, it would make all the difference in the world in our communities. Now, as far as this case with George Floyd, we are certainly all waiting with bated breath to see what the final results are going to be. Not only us. And see, the difference between this, and I need for people to keep in mind, the difference between this and all the other cases is that the world is watching. Everybody around the world is watching. They are watching this closely. And so these folks who are putting out these ideas that he was already choking and all this other stuff and victimizing the victim yet again, because this is a case about George Floyd having the right to live, not about this police officer killing him. It's about him having the right to live. And so I don't entertain people who don't even see me as human. I would be foolish to do that. I don't entertain all these Trump heads and all these other folks who don't, because if we can't come to the conclusion that I'm human, first of all, for me to disagree with you, you got to see that I'm a human being. If you can't see that, then you need to keep it moving, because we have no conversation to have, because you have already asserted yourself as superior. And so this whole idea of white supremacy is not white supremacy at all. It's global white savagery. And that's what I call it, because that's what it is. And we witnessed that on that day. We witnessed that on January the 6th. We continue to witness. It is nothing that is new to our community. We've seen it in the lynchings. We saw it in Tulsa. We've seen it all over the place. The difference now is that something different is happening. And I knew from the moment that I saw that police precinct on fire in Minneapolis, I said, whoa, something different is going on here. It's not the same. And so as we continue to look to see what this verdict will be, whether it plays in the favor of George Floyd or whether it doesn't, the bottom line is that there's an awakening that has happened. And when we look back as artists, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're going to see some of the most amazing artistic work that you've ever seen because of this situation and because the artist was quarantined, left alone by himself or herself to get something together, to make something, to create. No more disturbances from the outside. Now they've been left alone for up to a year or less. And so out of this is going to come some of the most creative things you've ever seen, especially from our community. You know, because we're the newest culture on the face of the earth derived from the oldest. So you're always going to see, we're in a constant cipher of creation. And remember what I said earlier about that connection with the creator?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's where I am.
All of that.
Right.
Oh, word.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned. Oh, sorry. You know, the issue about whiteness, the whiteness being a global issue, right? I know we're ending now. I just want to quickly say, you know, I think even with this whole stop anti or stop Asian hate, and you know, Black Lives Matter, all these things, I always like to say, those things.
Where you go?
And stop blackness, because that's something that. Can you hear me?
Say that again, Chris. You froze.
Say that again.
Yes. Oh, yes. I said the answer is stop white terrorism and stop anti-blackness, because those are the issues that span the globe. You know, we always get into these nuanced things of like the stop Asian hate or the Black Lives Matter or this and this and that, whenever an incident arises. But at the bottom of it, the common denominator is white terrorism or anti-blackness globally. So those are the answers.
Amen.
So that's all I want to say.
That's the word.
Yes, it is.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll just say this piece too. I agree with what everyone said, and I'll pass it to Nate. That I, for myself, for like what Chrissy said, I'm limiting for, she's not watching it at all, I believe she said, but like for myself, I'm limiting what I view, how much of this I view and take in this trial, because it's so re-triggering and re-traumatizing.
Right.
The work that I do daily at the Covenant House is enough. And my advocacy with that is enough trauma that I deal with on a daily basis to have to look at something that's such a open and closed case that is just lingering on and on. It's just like, what else do you need but proof? Like, what else do you need? And so for that, just the anger that I get that we're even having to watch a trial is enough for me to say I have to calm this, close my laptop. Like I can't watch the news or anything like that. I have to just stay focused and stay and keep my spirit up and stay prayerful and stay vigilant for those who I work for and advocate for daily. So I totally agree. And with that being said, Nate, is on you as we close.
Yeah, absolutely. This evening has been incredible. First and foremost, thanking all of you. I know Luke had to slide out a little bit early, had some things to do, but just thanking each and every one of you for taking time out of your evening to be a part of this conversation. It's been enlightening. I've learned some things about you, some new things. And even just touching on this last topic, it has my kind of like my creative wheels just going and just so many different thoughts and things like that. But as we close out, I want to open the floor for any of you, actually all of you, to just share some closing remarks, share your thoughts, any endeavors that you have, any events, anything that's going on with you, share that. And then also just the best way to contact you, whether it's via social media, email, your website, whatever it is. I'm going to open the floor for everyone. And you know what? Actually, we'll start with Arthur, then we'll go Elle and Chrissy.
Okay, so I just want to say, first of all, it's an honor and privilege to be here with all of you all, to learn, to disperse knowledge, and to just revel in the beauty of us as Black people. That's number one. My social media is just, I'm on Facebook. You can DM me, Arthur Leo Taylor. I have a meeting now with someone to discuss I'm working on a website now. And just keeping positive in this situation that is this pandemic, and that is all of the trauma that we are experiencing. We are resilient people, and we will move forward past this, and we will continue to achieve greatness. And we just have to continue to love ourselves, to love those who are around us, who even provide and don't understand the love that they need and deserve. To continue to educate. You know, as exhausting as it is, sometimes we have to educate our white brothers and sisters too, because some of them just honestly don't know. So, and that's so if you choose to, you know, in the betterment of the way that we're trying to make this world, I think it is indicative of us to certainly look at our whole spectrum as people of the diaspora, and to continue to push forward, because that's what we do. Our legacy here in the world is that we have a struggle, and that struggle is what makes us unique. It sets us up as the newest tribe on the face of the earth. So there you go.
Awesome. L's on you.
I'll start talking and be on mute. I'll be like, this mute button. One of them Johns in your fingertips, between your fingertips. Right. I just want to say that my hope is that as a people, we learn to love ourselves and to know our worth and to grow together. I'm an old school baby and come from the old school, where when we had hurricanes and massive things going on, the neighborhood, we fed each other. You know, we kept up with each other. We made sure if you didn't have lights, come on over here. You know, if you didn't have water, heat and hot water, come on over here. And so, you know, we've gotten into a complacent stage in the newer generations where we're independent and we can do everything on our own. We don't need nobody's help, and we don't need people, you know, and we don't. But everybody needs the company of somebody.
Come on.
Doesn't matter if it's a friend, doesn't matter if it's a therapist, doesn't matter if it's brothers, sisters, a lover, whatever.
Right.
And so as a people, I'm just hoping that we come together in unison and we remember who we are. You know what I mean? Whose we are and why we are here. And so other than that, again, I'm L Vintage. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it, I'm there. IG and Facebook, I'm at L Vintage. If you see my name right there, you spell it the same way. It's on Facebook, it's spelled the exact same way. Everything's lowercase on IG. I'm also on SoundCloud. I have some really great things going down right now. I'm telling y'all, when I tell y'all I woke up this morning and God opened up some doors, I was like, what? And so again, you know, God is he shows himself time in and time out for me, because I don't know why, because he loves me, you know, he loves me. So I definitely, then I'm working on a project as well. My actual first memoir, personalized memoir that I'm working on is going to be an audio and book version. I do have a journal, a Corona journal that I'm working on, which is just about done. Coronavirus journal, you know, healing, mental, physical, spiritual. And like I said, stay tuned, because there's some dope things going down. Oh, and I definitely have to mention this, right? I love my family. I love my fiance. I just want to give a shout out to my family and my fiance, because she's my backbone, and my Kangs, the Kangs. They work my nerves, but we gonna push them to greatness because they deserve it too. So y'all just, I love y'all. Thank you for this opportunity. You was waiting. Listen, I didn't know when you was gonna do it. When you was gonna get. You was waiting.
Oh man, nah, I had to get that off. I had to get that off. And I just went to SoundCloud too. I didn't know you was on SoundCloud. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah. I'm on SoundCloud, brother. I got a couple things up there. I'm working on downloading, uploading some other stuff. Just and it's SoundCloud. What is great about it? It's all audio.
All audio.
You know what I mean? So it's gonna be some dope stuff on it. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Christina, we're gonna finish off with you.
Sure. So first and foremost, thank you all so much for having me. I feel so honored to be in such greatness in this virtual platform. You can follow me on Instagram. It's royal.servant. Facebook is just Christina Noble. I also implore you to check out Stories of AC. You can find us on all platforms at Stories of Atlantic City or Stories of AC. I have some things I'm working on personally, as well as this Stories of AC. So I'm excited. I don't want to jump the gun and say it, but just stay tuned. And I just love y'all. I love my people. I love my artists. I love my Black and brown folk.
Yes.
And I really do want to say to be encouraged. I know there's so many things going on in the world right now, and especially for Black people, that just always feels like it's something else, right? It's always something. But what I do love that I'm seeing about this time is that, I feel like there is such love being fostered in our community. I feel like, we are back on the rise. I mean, we've never been on the downfall, but I feel like we are recognizing our worth as a people. We recognize what we bring to the table, this global table. And I see the love that's being cultivated amongst our communities again, and the support and the encouragement. So just be encouraged. Our time is here. Our time is now. So I implore you to really start working on your passions and trying to figure out what your purpose is, because now is the time. I said before, we are the modern day Moses, and change is going to come immediately. So
hey, come on, somebody.
do the work. Yes, do the work internally. Invest in yourself and figure out why you're here on this earth. And let's get to it.
That's good. That's good. And go ahead.
I saw my candidate on here, right? Because y'all know I'm in the political realm as well.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades. So I got to shout out my candidate. She's running for councilwoman at large here in the great city of Atlantic City, right?
Wow.
Got some young up and coming folks, some young fire coming to this atmosphere. So shout out to Shamika Harvey Cotman, because she's going.
I had to hit the horn for that one. You hear me? Nah. No, man. Thank you all. And before we close out, we do have a special announcement. Something big, something that's been in the works for quite some time now.
Yes.
And we want to reveal that here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the. I was going to hit the drum roll, but I don't got a drum roll. I only got the horn. I only got the dum. I don't got the
Bro, you too comfortable with this, Joe.
Right.
It's like a lifelong dream of mine. I've been always wanting to be that dude, just when I see my people coming to the party, like, it's my man. Right. I always wanted to be that. But with no further ado, as we are closing this out, we are going to make the announcement now. Drum roll, please. Coming to you live, we now have the new release from Ty Lewis. I Am a Man.
Hey.
And the Rhythm of a Black Man's Heart is now for pre-sale. The link should be in the description. Ty,
yes,
quickly, man, I'm gonna have you share a little bit about this.
Okay, well, I'm super excited. This, like Mr. Arthur said, a lot of art was going to be created during the pandemic, and this was though I had embarked on it before the pandemic. I had to sit it down for a while. I had my own struggles. I did contract COVID, so I did have to put this down for a while, and then I was discouraged and back and forth. However, through all the turmoil with what I see our Black men going through, not only our Black men, but our Black community as a whole, this book was birthed from pain, from grieving, from being angry, from being also embarking on love. Like, I'm engaged now, and like all these different things. So it was birthed, like what Luke said earlier, it was birthed from what I was going through. But I would like to read the description real quick, if that's cool with you all.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Just to give some background, because I believe this will give a good idea of what this book is about, this anthology is about. All right, here we go. It says, in Memphis, Tennessee in 1968, two black men, Echo Cole and Robert Walker, were crushed in a garbage compactor while taking shelter from the rain. These two sanitation workers, along with many others, were forced to work in harsh weather and inhumane conditions for below minimum wage. Their deaths led to a march in honor of those who died in support of the Memphis sanitation strike and to address the racial injustice of the working class. Martin Luther King Jr. would join 1,300 men on March 18th, 1968, as they protested. These men, mostly older gentlemen in their 50s or 60s, were regarded as children, paid starvation wages, and in most cases, only hired due to their arrest records and low threat to unionizing. For this, the strike slogan became, "I am a man." In Minneapolis, Minnesota, the world watched on May 25th, 2020, as a white police officer, Derek Chauvin, knelt on a black man, George Floyd's neck for approximately 9.5 minutes to Floyd's death. With black deaths rising due to systematic racial police brutality, Floyd's death was a call to war. Riots and protests spread throughout the country and internationally. Chauvin was charged with second and third degree murder and second degree manslaughter. Chauvin's trial began on March 9th, 2021, almost 53 years to the date of the march in Memphis in 1968. With these parallel tragedies in mind and countless others that led to no indictments, acquittals, or no investigation at all, Chauvin's trial and pending verdict seems predictable. Decades beyond the civil rights movement and more than a century after slavery was abolished, black men struggle for the simple dignity to be seen as human. This anthology was written to pay homage to Cole, Walker, and Floyd, martyrs for the same struggle. This collection of work is for those martyrs who never made the headlines or for whom justice did not prevail. These poems are our cries, anger, and laughter in the rhythm of a black man's heart today. Still, we want to be seen as men and given our inalienable right to breathe. Each poem speaks to our validity of our lives and its simplicity, yet totality, and not the sum total of our transgressions. These poems give insight to our vulnerability that is tucked away daily to face a world that has never accepted us in our rich melanin, broad shoulders, and resounding voices as God intended. These words celebrate us in every perfect shade of brown we are covered in. Just as the brave men declared in the heat of oppression in 1968, I, Ty Lewis, declares, I am a man.
Hey, y'all, look.
The book is out. The link is in the comments. You can click the link now. It's for pre-sale. We will launch later on. Right now, we're in pre-sale. So get those orders in. Be the first to get those orders in. Okay. I'm so super excited. This is for us. This is for our community. This is to teach. This is to exhale. This is to breathe. This is to embrace. And I pray that is received well and that you take it as a labor of love and that it also is used as an education tool and all that good stuff. But I hope that I'm speaking for the voiceless in this book as well, and that the poems are not just poetry, but they're sonnets of our struggle. And I'm just so grateful. And shout out to my fiance, who's my editor, Sherry. I'm so excited. So it was our first project together. So thank you guys so much for just being a part of this. This is tremendous. Awesome. I'm grateful.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
That's a whole lot of fiancés on this call, and I don't know whether to celebrate with y'all or
you know what?
Because but congratulations, I guess. Congratulations on the book side. That's amazing. Don't forget y'all, respectfully.
I forgot how hilarious you are.
Right.
I forgot how hilarious, because we haven't spent time together a long time. I forgot
We did.
You are.
It's coming again. We're gonna have to reunite one of these days.
Right.
Artistic group.
Right.
That's hilarious.
We have definitely went over the time I expected, but it was all good. We had some good conversation. I thank you for hanging in there. Luke, I know he had to dip out. I totally understand. And my girl Erica, she wanted to be a part, you know what I mean? But things kept her away, unfortunately, but she is well. And so I just thank you all I do not take it lightly. We were just talking about, artists and their time, and y'all ain't getting paid for this, so I don't want to lose y'all as friends. So
Stop it.
Never, brother, never.
Right.
I'll take the love offering.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I got them chicken dinners coming to y'all.
Right.
Look at your man.
I'll take a couple wings.
Right. No, I honor and salute. Yes, I honor and salute each and every one of you. Nate, thank you so much for moderating. You did an awesome job. Again, if you want to, right. If you want to stay in contact with myself, you can go to the website artbytylewis.com, Facebook Art by Ty Lewis. There you go, right there on the screen. Again, just thank you all so much for taking the time and being part of this. I'm humbled and honored to have not only have a conversation with you all, but to have a friendship and a connection to people who are not just artists, but amazing human beings and are trying to impact the world. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And whatever I can do to continue to support you all, just let me know. And I love you all.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I want to say one thing. One thing before we close out, because I'm big on us supporting each other. And I love when we get on live or we share a post or something. Let's all, support with our dollars as well. And let's make sure we get this book, y'all. Let's make sure we get it. This ain't gonna break your pocket. You know what I mean? And you don't have lunch that way.
I'm in that job right now.
You know what I'm saying? So let's support this and let's really uplift this brother, because this is powerful work. And I watched him pour his heart and soul into this. And I believe that this right here, this type of work is what frees people and allows them to be the fullest expression of themselves. And you all know that because of the work that you do and how much you put into it. You know what I'm saying? So let's really support each other. Let's continue to uplift each other. And let's have a blessed evening.
Yes. Thank you.
I love
Thank
y'all.
you. Have a great night. Peace.
All
Thank
right,
you for
guys.
watching. Thank you, guys.
Take it easy.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.